All right, you card nerds, welcome back to the channel. We are up here at Northeast Wisconsin Aero, and if you look like way over there underneath that moon, oh no, there he is. That's Clint Cavanaugh. Everyone say hi to Clint. All right, he is the absolutely only reason that this airplane has stayed up and running this entire time. And we are going to accomplish an annual today. Now, for those of you who don't know, as an owner of an aircraft, there are things that you can do when it comes to maintenance. You can do preventative maintenance. Look at Part 43, Appendix A, Section C, or something like that. And that's a whole list of all the stuff that you can do as an owner. And that's without an A&P. That's without anybody helping you out. Now, of course, you know, if you're not comfortable working on your airplane, don't work on your airplane, because if you screw something up, it's not like your car where you can just pull off to the side of the road. But we are not doing that today. We are doing an entire annual. Now, an annual is going to be a whole lot of maintenance. We've got a whole checklist that we're going to accomplish, and we're going to start it off with an oil change. So follow along. We'll try and learn something today. Now, when it comes to maintenance on anything, whether it be an airplane, a car, your refrigerator, the best thing is to start with preparation. Don't start busting things open, taking things apart before you know that you've got everything you need to get the job done. We're not going to take things apart if we don't have everything that we need. So when it comes to an oil change, we want to make sure we've got all the oil that we're going to need. Now, I don't need all of this. I only need 8 quarts of it. And we want to make sure we've got our oil filter. And, well, really, that's all you need for an oil change. So let's go get this thing started. All right, let's get this cowling opened. Eat. So we got the cowling open, pulled the dipstick out, and that just lets air into the system as the oil drains out so that it doesn't just sit here and gurgle and bubble and flow really slowly, so that you can try and get these things done before beer 30. No, I'm joking. But I'm only joking about the beer 30 part. So we've got our fun little hose. This actually fits. Oh, no, this isn't the hose that fits. Let's go find the right hose. And that's why. Yeah. All right. So we shove that little hose. There's a little nipple in there. Hope that doesn't demonetize this video by saying nipple. There's a little nipple up there with a quarter turn. That allows the oil to drain out. Nice and smoothly. So I try really hard every year to not make an absolute mess getting this oil filter off. You can see there's a lot going on up here. But let's get this safety wire off. And we've got this little thing, like flexible oil channel thing. We're gonna try and shove it somewhere to drain the oil and not make a mess. Oh, is this going to be the year where I don't make... No, I can tell the oil's already spilling all over my hands. Maybe I should have ran it a little longer to warm it up. And there it is. There's your oil filter. Now, we're not just going to throw this thing away like you would do with your car or your lawnmower. We are actually going to cut it open. So, all right, here we are over at the workbench. Now, what a lot of owners do when they're doing their oil changes, you see this is an oil filter cutter, right? It's almost like a really big pipe cutter is really what you can think about it as. It's got a little cutting wheel over here, slides on a track, and a little wheel tightens it up. And what a lot of owners do is they look at this and see, oh, look, that's a clamping block. Let me clamp this in here and then put their oil filter on it and dump oil all over the floor. Now, that's not what you want to do. What you actually want to do is take the oil filter. It's actually got this really nice clampy bit down here on the bottom, the nut, and you put that in the vise. And you don't really care if you damage that, right? Because, you know, you're throwing it away. And you might be wondering, why are we cutting open an oil filter? Well, oil filters filter oil. So if there's something that ended up getting filtered out, like metal, well, the engine's fairly sealed, so it probably came from inside the engine. So this is absolutely terrifying every time you do it. Thinking, okay, well, is today the day that I'm going to have to go get a credit card and get my engine overhauled on credit card because I made the mistake of not saving up enough money for this event? Well, let's cross our fingers and hope not. And given that you're seeing this video, I wonder what I'm going to put for the thumbnail. If I find metal in this, the thumbnail is probably going to be really sad. If I don't find metal in this, I don't know what the thumbnail is going to be yet. Probably something boring that y'all don't click on. All right, but as you can see, we just tighten it, rotate it a couple times until you hear that little like crack. It's almost like the sound of like opening up a tuna can, like that crunch, crunch, crunch. Yeah, right there. So I want to ask y'all, let me know in the comments, what do you think? Are we replacing an engine or not? Drum roll, please. Okay, well, there's the lid. And what you're looking for is it to look like a stripper. If it looks like it's gonna leave glitter all over the place, then you're gonna go and replace your engine, or at the very least overhaul it. But I am not seeing any glitter in this filter. But then what you also do is look in the bottom. Because if there's any like big chunks, that chunk is supposed to be in there. That's part of the filter. But if you look down in there, and again, you don't see any glittery, sparkly, looks like the dance floor at a strip club stuff, then your engine's not coming apart. Awesome. Engine's not coming apart. Let's throw this. Well, we're not going to throw it away. We're going to recycle it. Recycling bins over there. Awesome. So oil filter's on, just hand tight, not any tighter than that. Then we have a special fun little torque wrench. It goes clicky clicky when things are tight to where they need to be. We don't use German torque specs over here. We use appropriate torque specs. For those of you who don't know, German is Gudentight. I know, it's a terrible joke, terrible joke. And there's the click. Awesome. And as I said, safety wire. And we're going to use the fun little safety wire gun. And Clint is actually down there. And he's going to tell me how to use this thing. So we've got, actually, before we do that, how do I use this thing again? So here's the little safety wire thing, as opposed to using just the wire.
Well, so you want to figure out where the nose of this thing will get to easiest. So is it easiest to get it onto that side, or is it easiest to get it onto this side?
Okay, it looks like it'd probably be easiest to get it onto the filter as opposed to the engine back here, right?
Go through there.
So we're going to take there's a little nubbin on one end of these, and then we're going to shove it through where it mounts up to the engine, like where I've got a little hole on the oil filter mount, and I'll try to get a video of where we're putting all this stuff later.
Go under your ignition wires.
Go under those ignition wires. Okay, so then we've got that. And then we're just gonna loop it through, like from the front or from the back?
Under.
Under, okay.
And usually if you put a little bend in this, it'll hook under there pretty good.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Awesome. So let me tighten that up. And then you said you gotta use one of these little nubbins?
Yep.
So
then we want to put the new ferrule on there.
all right. Okay, and it just
Slide her down.
snaps off.
And then this thing's got a wide end and a small end. You want to put the wide end on first.
Okay.
Ferrule goes inside of that.
Oh, snazzy.
Clips in, tension it. We want to make sure that this wire is in the smallest, tightest spot it can go. These safety wires can stick in the paint of the filter and then it doesn't find its most direct path.
Oh.
Squeeze it and you're done.
Oh shit, that's so much easier. That is like night and day. I have spent like an hour doing safety wire for an oil filter. We got that done in what, 30 seconds?
And that was with me explaining it.
Yeah, and that's with you telling me how to not be stupid.
Could have been faster.
And how much is that tool?
A lot. $500.
Okay, well.
You know what? When you use it every day, it's worth it.
Okay. Well, I don't use it every day. I do one oil change every like 3 months. You should have given that to, what's his name with the brakes? All right. Oil filter's on. Looks like we are done dribbling. Remember, shake it. You shake it more than twice, you're playing with it. And now let's put some oil in it. Now, for you student pilots out there that aren't necessarily to the engine and systems and stuff parts of your training, let's talk a little bit about spark plugs. So, spark plugs, there are a couple of them. You got one, or you got two in each cylinder. So there's one, there's the other right there. And they all lead back to these little octopus looking things right here. And one on each side of the oil filter. These are magnetos. Now magnetos, they're a little different than like your car's ignition system, like if you've got a car, like a moped or a motorcycle or something like that. These are a little different because they take no power from the rest of the airplane, meaning the airplane can be completely off, battery dead, and if these have the appropriate signal, we're not really gonna talk about what that signal is. If the switch is in the appropriate position, and I swing that propeller, this engine will start. Meaning, if I lose all other electrical in this entire airplane, because either my battery died, my alternator died, something or another, this engine will still run, which I think is great. Now, why do we have two? Well, for redundancy, because if one of these takes crap for one reason or another, because there's plastic gears in here, because they'd rather this thing fail than it seize up and stop the big old spinny fan thing. If one of these fails, we want to make sure we've got another one to keep us running. Now, of course, if one of them fails, the engine is going to run a little bit slower. It's not going to have the performance that it needs because having a spark plug on each side of the cylinder makes it so that when those things ignite and set off the fire, it's a lot smoother, it's a lot more even of a burn. If I only had one, then I'm getting a burn that kind of runs across the piston face, pushing it down unevenly. But since I've got one on each side, and as long as these are timed properly, meaning that they're gonna go off at the same time, then I'm gonna get a nice smooth burn there. They come in, they meet and go down and push that piston down evenly. Now, when I've only got one going, whether it be on the top or the bottom, I get a burn that runs across the piston face. Now, here's our spark plugs. You can see them right there. Right? You can see you've got two little electrodes, right? Two little pins right there that shoot spark to the, oh wait, it's the other way around. The little electrode in the middle shoots spark out to the two little prongs on the side. And, a little brown. That's a good spark plug. That's a good spark plug. So our little tray right here, you can see, has numbers on it that correspond with piston numbers. So that one on the right is 1, and it's 1 top. So we're going to throw 1 top in the tray labeled 1 top. And then this piston right here is 3. So we're going to put that in 1 3. And we'll go to the other side and take those out too. All right, now the audio is going to suck for a little bit because I'm talking straight to the GoPro because my DJIs won't link to the GoPro. But spark plugs, we need to make sure that they're clean, right? They seemed okay when we pulled them out, but sometimes you end up with a little bit of carbon buildup in them. Like let's grab one and just take a quick little gander in it. Let's go find some brighter light to get a better look. So I'll try and show y'all. Well, actually, these spark plugs look damn near brand new. Like, so normally you'll have like little bits of carbon buildup around the electrode and around that little, well, it's not carbon actually, it's lead. You'll have little bits of lead buildup down there around the white bit, freaking the insulator. But these actually they don't look half bad. We're still going to sandblast them and wire wheel them and put new coppers on them because that's what you're supposed to do. Let's see if any of these other ones look like crap. That one's got a little bit going on. So let's get the sandblaster going and sandblast these spark plugs. All right, so since I obviously couldn't be recording and talking because, you know, the sandblaster is loud, let's talk through what I'm actually doing here, right? So we get our gloves on, and what I like to do is I shoot the sandblaster at my hand to make sure sand is actually coming out. I know that's probably not the safest way to do it, but these gloves are brand new. So now what I'm doing is I'm shooting into the spark plug. I'm trying to get any kind of lead deposits out of the interior of that spark plug. Those lead deposits can cause hot spots, they can cause detonation, they can cause uneven ignition, it can cause all kinds of problems. So what we're trying to do is pretty much sandblast these things to brand new. So I'm sandblasting the inside of the spark plug, and now I'm actually sandblasting the threads of the spark plug as well to ensure that, again, there's no buildup. There's nothing building up on these threads, because as I go to put them back in the cylinder, I'm going to rotate them through and make sure that, you know, they're getting evenly worn between top and bottom. And I don't want anything marring up the threads, because again, if I destroy threads on a cylinder, I'm buying a new cylinder. I'm getting my cylinder remanufactured because I don't trust helicoils in cylinder threads. I feel like thread repair on spark plugs is a bad idea. Even if it's approved, even if the FAA approves it, which I'm not saying the FAA does approve it. I'm just saying even if they do approve it, that's probably not a good idea. Last thing I want to do is send a spark plug into the stratosphere while I'm cruising around at 6,000 feet. All right, now that we're on the last two, I want to do just a quick little before and after, because I mean, I kind of feel like an idiot because I was like, oh, those spark plugs look great, but this is the before and after when it comes to sandblasting them and cleaning them. Now you might be wondering, like, hey, I've never cleaned spark plugs in my car. I've never heard of anybody cleaning car spark plugs. Why do you clean airplane spark plugs? Well, because they're serviceable, and I think they're like $30 a piece. They might be more, but yeah, so they're a lot more expensive than your car's spark plugs. So let's clean this last one, and there's a couple other things we got to do to get them ready to go. All right, now the last thing we need to do to these spark plugs is throw away the old copper gaskets. We got new ones, right? But we're gonna hit the we're gonna get all the sand out of them first. Shit. then we're going to hit the threads with the wire wheel to clean up any kind of nonsense that's gotten built up in the threads. But we're not going to touch the electrode. All right, last thing we need to do with these spark plugs before we throw them back in is gap them. All right, so this is a fun little doodad right here. We just put them in, take this feeler gauge, make sure we got the right one. So we're looking for 19 thousandths. This little wire right here, and you can see, and we're just gonna put it, oh here, let me take it out. We're just gonna see, can that 19 thousandths fit in there with just a little bit of drag? It looks like maybe there's not enough drag. I can move that kind of back and forth. So I need to put it in here and use this little doodad, try and square it up on it, and just close that gap ever so slightly. And again, same idea, stick that 19 thousandths in, wait for a little drag. All right, there's that one. And there's that little bits of drag. Let's check the other side. Not a whole lot of drag. So we're gonna tighten it up until I get a little bite. There's a little bite. There we go. I gotta check compression now, but this is one thing that is a little bit different than cars. And you know, Cheese Pilot, yep, I used to build race cars. The way we check compression is we put a gauge on it and run the starter. Well, obviously you can't really do that with a big old swinging prop. So Clint's gonna show us how to actually check compression on an airplane. So what are you doing?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we spin the prop pretty good speed until you hear the cylinder blow, and that means you're coming up on compression. So we're just gonna, that was it there, but we're just gonna spin it, spin it, spin it, and you'll hear it. There, you hear the noise. And then the click, as long as the mags are timed correctly, the click should be right around top dead center, if not right on top dead center. So that gives us where top dead center is. We're gonna bring our gauge down to 40 PSI so that I can manage the prop by hand. Back it up a little bit and come in until it relieves pressure. When it relieves pressure, it's sitting at top dead center. So right now I got 40 PSI on that prop, and it's not turning because it's up as far as it'll possibly go.
So it's kind of balanced right there on the crankshaft. It's
balanced, exactly. So we're going to put 80 in it. And we're going to see that we've got 76 as our compression number. So we're 76 over 80. So that is a good cylinder.
All right, so what does that mean, 76 over 80?
That means we only have 4 PSI of leakage coming through.
Okay, well that sounds solid. That sounds like a healthy engine to me.
That's real good.
All right, so even with
if you had a cylinder that, say the rings were annealed, or the rings get broke, or you got heavy corrosion pits on your cylinder bore, you got valves that are rotting away, you can even get a piece of carbon that's underneath your valves. You get all kinds of stuff that happens in the cylinder that will let me, as a mechanic, know that there's something else I need to investigate for that cylinder. That doesn't necessarily always mean that if I get a low number that the cylinder has to come off. It means look into that cylinder and try to figure out what the problem is.
Okay.
Now I'm always stopping that piston or that prop in the direction of rotation, because if I don't do that, then I scatter the rings the rings are either sitting in the top of the piston or the bottom of the piston or somewhere in between, and then I don't get an accurate representation of its compression. That one's 78.
Okay, so even better.
That
now,
one's got 2 psi leakage. That's perfect.
Now, I mean, how many hours on an engine do you usually start seeing compression losses?
It usually gets close to TBO, as long as they've been operated correctly. No, I've had Lycoming and Continental engines that have been shot 100 hours after overhaul. If the guy is overleaning it and not running the engine the way it's supposed to be run, then yeah, I mean
you're gonna burn cylinders.
It's metal. Yeah, it's metal. If you're running 1700 degrees on EGTs, you're gonna trash your engine. It's the way it is.
All right, now when it comes to putting spark plugs back in, we're gonna thread them in with just our fingers before we start putting a wrench or anything on them. Because, you know, the last thing we wanna do is cross thread these and then end up having to spend thousands of dollars on new cylinders or drilling them out. I don't know if you can helicoil them. I don't think I'd wanna helicoil them. So you just put them in hand tight, and then we're going to come back with a torque wrench and ensure that they are in there properly. Yeah. All right, so 380 inch-pounds. Turn till it clicks. There's a click. For those of you that don't speak in freedom units, I don't know what it is in Newton meters. Click. And then we'll get the other side. And then throw these spark plug wires back on. All right, another day working on the annual on the Lake 200. I know, it's such a beautiful day. It's kind of disappointing to have to take the airplane apart instead of going to fly, but gotta stay legal. So let's get this tug and go get the airplane. God, it's such a nice day. I really don't want to take the airplane apart today, but the annuals do when the annuals do. I need to just do the annual over the winter one of these days. And, well, have that be my annual way in the winter, when it's not like I'm going to be flying anyway. But bought the airplane down in Kansas, and down in Kansas right now, it's probably about 110 to 120 degrees. And super windy, so nobody flies into Kansas down there. And I mean, I've just been doing the annual when the annuals due. So yeah, but maybe this winter we'll get the annual done again. You know, get all the boxes checked so that we can shift the annuals to the winter when it's snowing and it's not like we're going to be flying. All right, now, on the annual, obviously, you need to evaluate the gear, but what I've noticed over the last year is that my nose wheel bottoms out every once in a while on dirt runways, so we need to service the strut up here. So we ended up putting a bag on the tail of the airplane so that the airplane will sit on its tail safely, and we can climb under here without risk of getting skished. So let's get up in there. We're gonna end up, there's a little Schrader valve. We already took the cap off. All right, here's the cap. We already took the cap off. It's way up in there. You can see it off the side of the strut. And we're gonna drain all the pressure out of it so that we can service the fluid inside of it so that it doesn't bottom out anymore. All right, so you can see I've got a little Schrader valve back there. And where'd my little tool go? You gotta take this, thread it on there. Yeah, it's a little bit of a reach. Once you thread it on there. Got a little bit of corrosion in here too that we should probably take care of. Okay, so that's nice and snug. Then we're just gonna crack it. Huh. Was this thing did this thing have no air in it? Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. It just like barely went and that was it. Or is it not, did I not get the valve all the way? Or is this valve some weird one where this doesn't technically fit?
I'll take the core out.
No, that was it. That's concerning. Yeah. So here's your little valve core, all right? As you can see, it almost looks like the exact same thing that you would take out of a bike tire, but I'm assuming since it's on a certified, Part 23 certified airplane, the FAA will charge you like $100 for one of these. But now that we got that valve out, we're gonna wait for Clint to close the door so that we can get some instructions on what to do next, because if I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what the next steps are. Okay. Oh, all right, well, what do I do?
Okay, so you want no air in this thing.
No air.
It's got the valves are open.
Okay.
Okay. So then you want to turn that off so that doesn't leak
Flow.
out. That goes on the chitter rail body.
Okay, so this little doodad, right, goes on. Strainer valve body. Okay, so we got that little doodad.
Okay, turn your vice grips on.
Okay.
And then push your nose wheel all the way up.
Oh yeah, nothing came out of that.
Okay, now pull down on it.
Oh, so we can pull a vacuum? Nothing.
Hang on.
Oh, there it goes. So it wasn't.
If it starts getting somewhat full where it starts getting black fluid coming out or darker fluid, like it's starting to push fluid back out,
Then,
shut this off, disconnect it, and just let it.
oh,
let
so
it
it
go
doesn't
in there.
contaminate the fresh fluid?
Yeah, I don't want a bunch of crap in there.
Oh, fair, fair.
So basically, you just go up and down, up and down, up and down. When you see the fluid kind of stop moving, then you can go up again.
Okay, so
And
I don't
it's
know.
gonna push that fluid, and then it's gonna push.
I don't see. Oh, yep, there it goes. It stopped. You can see a bubble up at the top.
Yeah. So now push your nose wheel back up. You're gonna push air back out.
Oh yeah, that's a lot harder to push
Give
now.
it a second. You're pushing all that fluid out.
Okay.
Go.
Oh,
Shut the valve off. Yeah. Now put it in here.
okay.
No, do it over the.
Oh yeah, do it over because it's gonna make a mess. All right, so then what?
Go ahead, push it up a little more.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, Yeah.
That looks like what a toilet after Taco Bell.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I would hook it back up and do a couple rotations of that, but you guys want
Okay.
that black fluid on there as you can. Air bubbles are going out. Just let it wait for a bit.
All right. Could we crack the back end to allow air back in, or is that not? No. Okay. Yeah, you can hear it filling in. Then we wait until we see a bubble up at the top. There's a bubble. Push. A little bit. Push. Close that. Oh yeah, that's much cleaner fluid. I don't understand how there's fluid in it now. To me, that's empty. But that's what Clint said to do. So let's put 100 PSI in it. And put the valve back in. All right, now you might be wondering, why do we use nitrogen instead of just compressed air? Well, because nitrogen is a noble gas or an inert gas, meaning it doesn't react, right? It doesn't respond to temperature changes. So, as the pressure or as the temperature goes up and down from that strut working, the pressures won't change. If we were to use just regular old air, right, then as that strut works and warms up, that pressure would start to change. It would start to get greater the more the strut works. Okay, empty. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the bottle. We're going to reduce the regulator for 100 PSI so that we can't pump in any more than what's allowed. There we go, 100 PSI. And then stick this up here. Empty. Now, that link doesn't seem, that link might have a little bit of play in it. But let's see if we can get this on it and get a solid pressure reading. 60. 100. And then put the cap back on, and there you go. Strut is serviced. Now, since we service the nose strut, we have to service the main struts. Now, you might be sitting here going, Cheese Pilot, what are you doing with those big old railway ties? Well, given that Clint only has high wing jacks and low wing jacks, and buying a set of mid wing jacks for my plane only seems a little cost prohibitive. We have big old blocks of wood, and it's actually kind of embarrassing. I spend all this time going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, jacking up the airplane, just to realize that the blocks I put on the left side, not tall enough, so I gotta go get other blocks. So we're lowering the airplane back down. Oh wait, I accidentally engaged the anti-tilt locks, so now we gotta send the airplane back up to disengage the anti-tilt locks. Okay, look, we got it down. Now let's go get the big blocks of wood, put the jack back up on the big blocks so that we can get the airplane up in the air. Once the airplane's up in the air, we can service the main struts, and we can actually do the emergency gear extension test. So here we are, back and forth, up on one side, up on the other side. The reason we're doing it up on one side, up on the other side is because we don't want the anti-tilt locks to kick in, making it so that we can't jack up the airplane. Now we've got a big old concrete block that we're going to tie the tail down to, and we actually check and make sure that the gear can swing up. And now we're doing the emergency gear extension, where we use the hand pump to pump down the gear and make sure that we can get a green light and the gear actually go down. Now, I even tried to bring the gear up with the emergency pump, but it doesn't seem like that works. I was thinking seaplane, maybe we do an emergency gear retraction, but now let's service the main strut. All right, now servicing these is really the exact same as servicing the nose. We're gonna take the Schrader valve off, or the Schrader cap off. Let's go get our All right, now it's time to get this airplane off the jacks, which is an absolutely wonderful process to do by yourself, and then clean it. So we're gonna grease all of the Zerk fittings, and we wanna make sure that we get off all the old grease before we start throwing new grease on it. So we're getting the airplane down off the jacks. We're properly adjusting the nose strut to make sure that it does actually have the pressure that it's required to have. And we're busting out the low pressure washer to clean off any and all bugs, any and all grease. We're throwing some degreaser on it to get any of the oil stains off of it, or any of the oil that I spilled on it yesterday during the oil change. And you know what? Just enjoy the time lapse, I guess. All right, our next course of action is to grease every fitting. Everywhere you see a little Zerk fitting, put grease in it until you see fresh grease come out, you know, because airplanes aren't like cars where they've got a bunch of different seals that you'll blow out by pumping too much grease into them. They actually are supposed to do that. And there's the clean grease. Now, these inspection covers are a little bit of a pain because they need to be watertight, right? A lot of them are below the water line, so you got to put some sealant on them. And you know, for the most part, I just use RTV. It's not corrosive. It comes off pretty easy, and it's watertight for the year that it needs to be watertight. Very rarely do I get water in these sponsons now. When I first bought it, these sponsons would take on just a ridiculous amount of water. But as you can see, everything looks pretty square back there. Nothing to be concerned about. But again, we're gonna have Clint take a look and make sure that everything in there is square. Now we got a couple other ones we need to take off as well. So let's keep working at them. Now back here is the torque tubes for the rudder and the elevator. You might not be able to see them. I'll try and get a camera in there. But that's what they look like. Those are my controls. So we need to inspect those and make sure that there's no damage to those. But given that I'm not an A&P, I don't know what I'm looking at. We got one on the tail. This is also a temporarily affixed camera mount, you know, because legally it can't be permanently affixed, right? I don't think we're going to put that one back on either. It didn't really give us a very good view. I think I might have used it once to inspect my rudder in flight, but other than that, I don't think I used it at all. More control surfaces. You can take a better look at them from this side as well. Also taking a look inside the tail, making sure we don't see anything weird. And of course, we're going to come back and actually peep in there with a real flashlight as opposed to this dumpy one on the DeWalt impact. So you might be wondering, out here in these sponsons, like what the hell are we looking for? Well, there's fuel tanks in these sponsons, so we're inspecting all the fuel components. Verify that there's no leaks in these. Make sure that the hoses that are in these are in good shape. And I think that's it for threaded ones. The rest of them are just slides. So, just like that. So let's get those slide ones off. And that might be it for the day. All right, another day in the books, and we are back the next day. Now, while I was gone and doing my own thing, Clint did hop in here and take a look at all the controls and everything, and gave it the good old sign off, the good old AMPIA sign off, saying that everything in these inspection covers has been inspected and is deemed airworthy. Well, of course, Clint is an AMPIA, and I'm paying him to do this stuff, so he didn't run the camera while he was doing any of that. That's not his job. It's his job just to make sure the airplane's safe. So we didn't get any of those inspections taped or whatnot. But you're going to have to trust me. You're going to have to trust me that they were done. Really, all he did was he reached in there, checked for anything that was loose, made sure there was nothing damaged, and greased anything that moved, lubed anything that had a fitting that needed to be lubed. And now we're putting the inspection covers back on, making sure we get a nice thick bead of RTV on them so that they are sealed back up so that we don't sink next time we go in the water. All right, it's now time for the third and, well, hopefully final day of the annual on the Lake 200. And the last thing that we really got to take care of is servicing the prop. So, you know, I'm following the instructions of Hartzell's manual along with, you know, the supervision of, you know, AMP. And these are just normal threaded, right? They're not reverse threaded or anything weird? No? Okay. And so we're gonna go find the appropriate tool, socket. We don't need to be doing this with an adjustable wrench. All right, now we've got hopefully the right size. Yep, that's the right size. And we're just gonna open up these little fittings on the back so that we can let out any pressure, right? Because we're trying to put new grease in. So this is where the grease should kind of come out. Oh, there was pressure in there. Oh, that's not good. Well, there was a little bit of pressure in there, but I haven't noticed anything weird from this prop. So, I don't know. All right, so we got both of those pulled out. It is the gray grease, so we've got the gray grease right here with the right angle adapter. All right, got the little cap off of the Zerk fitting. Now we should be able to throw this right angle adapter. And the book says no more than 1 ounce, but also no more than 8 pumps when it comes to servicing this. Okay, so let's actually take this little right angle adapter. Oh, no, it wants to stay in the gun. Okay. All right, we're going to speed this up just a little bit so you guys don't have to watch me struggle so bad with this prop. This thing's a huge pain, given that you got to be up on a ladder. The turtle deck supposedly isn't enough to support your own weight, so it was just a huge pain. We had to clean out the grease gun because it had gotten caked up with old grease, which probably should have cleaned it beforehand because, well, I don't really want to pump caked up grease into my prop. But we got it all cleaned up. Grease gun started flowing properly. Grease started flowing into the prop properly. I feel like there's a pun there that I missed. But either way, the prop is fully serviced and the annual is just about complete. We're looking at the hole on the other side. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see if we can get the gun and the tool to come at the same time. Awesome. Close her up. That's pretty much you could almost call it like an oil change for your prop. Just as many threads are exposed as when I took it apart. And there you have it. Annual is complete. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't show y'all everything. I'm tired. It's been a long day working on this thing. I didn't show y'all the fact that we took out the floor and lubed everything under there and tightened up the autopilot servo. I didn't show y'all the magnification inspection on the strut. So I mean, there's things that we didn't show you. Mainly just because I wanted to get it done. It took me 3 full days working on this airplane to get this annual done. The gear's serviced, the props serviced, the engine's good, engine's got good compression. But again, shout out to Northeast Wisconsin Aero up here at the Sturgeon Bay Airport. Clint, great mechanic. If you need help, don't hesitate, reach out to him. And, you know, he can do your annuals and whatnot. And Amphibious Plus. Thanks for helping out, answering any and all of my questions, even though I've never given y'all a dime. Amphibious Plus, y'all are great. And I guess that's about it. As always, fly safe and keep it cheesy.